Welcome to Digital Dilemmas, the podcast where we unravel the complex web of social media and our online presence. I'm your host, Robert Biehn, and in each episode, we bring on a special guest who shares their unique perspective on our digital world today. But we don't even stop there. We also discuss practical steps and innovate ideas to create a better, safer, and more positive digital landscape for everyone. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, stay positive, and let's work together to create a better digital future. This has been Digital Dilemmas. Hey, Brandy.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I'm really
Nice
glad
to
you
meet
came
you.
today, by the way.
What's that?
Said I'm really glad you're here.
Oh, thanks. Well, I'm glad to be here. This is
Dylan
great.
has spoken very highly of you.
Oh, good. Good. I appreciate Dylan. I think he's awesome too.
Always
It's
when I tell people that, I'm always sincere, but I'm always like, why do we say that? Because we would never tell someone if they didn't speak highly of them. Like, hey, I'm so glad you're here. This person says you're terrible. Like, so it's kind of funny that we say it because it's almost like, I mean, it's almost implied.
Dylan thinks you're the worst,
Dylan
but
thinks you're the
we're still
worst, but I'm
here.
happy to see you. Like,
But hey, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
that would be funny though. Could you imagine like you have someone who books your podcast for you, but they only book people they hate?
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
That's fun, right?
And see what your experience is. Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna put
Oh
you on
man,
with
that's a
worst.
that is a great podcast idea. Like,
I saw something yesterday or somewhere, and it's Grumpy Santa. So it's the Santa character, but all he does is be mean. I'm like, that's kind of a fun little twist to it. He shows up at your party and he's just mean Santa,
that's funny. It's like those
grumpy cause.
restaurants where
Yeah.
they're mean to the customers.
You're not
Yeah.
getting anything. Don't sit on my knee.
That's fun. That's fun. So Brandy, this is super relaxed. This is a very
Okay.
chill conversation. The goal here is that we're just talking about the good, the bad, the ugly of social media. When I say
Okay.
social media, that kind of includes things outside of Facebook and social media apps. What it really means is being online, connecting, and how we interact with each other online. Um,
Uh-huh.
and there's no like crazy structure. I like to think of it kind of like Joe Rogan. My goal is eventually to get to that Joe Rogan level where it feels really natural and it doesn't feel like, and now we do this very structured
Yeah.
thing that's salesy and doesn't feel authentic. I never even intended to make a podcast like this, but as I'm building this new platform, which is designed to be an alternative to what we have on social media currently, I realized I needed a strong brand behind it. And I was like, what do I do? And my brain always goes to sales and like do salesy things. And then Dylan was like, well, for years you've been talking about the problems of social media, but not everybody does. But he's like, but you're actually trying to fix them. So do a podcast talking about that. And I
Yeah.
was like, that kind of makes sense. So yeah. So
Kind of
Brandy,
like he's smart or something.
yeah,
He
I like
understands
Dylan.
the
I was
most.
just on the phone. I had to get off the phone. I was like, Dylan, hold on. I'm getting on with Brandy. We'll talk later.
Oh, good. Good. I know I
So
need to
great.
catch up with them too.
He's awesome. He's awesome. So Brandy, will you tell me a little bit about just so I can catch up? Tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Um, well, I own a video production and media company in Salt Lake City. So I've
Wow.
got a studio here. I've been doing production for 28 years.
Nice.
Um, I joined the Army at 17 as a broadcast journalist and public affairs specialist. I've interviewed the
What?
president, been all over the world. Yeah,
That
that
is
was
so
fun.
cool.
I was reporting for Fox News at 20.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I mean, I've just been in media most of my life, media, marketing, sales, advertising, but I've seen it from inside the beast and outside the beast. So I think I have an understanding of that on the do's and don'ts. And then I run a nonprofit called Good Deed Revolution.
Oh,
We
what a
have a
cool name.
big campaign that's called Promise to Live, and that's for mental health and suicide prevention. I almost lost my daughter twice, and
Oh,
we didn't talk about it because of stigma. And there's a lot of social media involved in that, right?
oh
Like
man.
the suicide rate's gone up 71% since 2010 for youth 10 to 17. Why is that? Well, A lot of people can say it's smartphones and social. So that's a big priority of what I do is a Promise to Live campaign. And we deal with music and we use influencers and celebrities and CEOs to really reach people and, hopefully get people to stay and learn about resources that are here and make a promise. Um,
That is
I have
so,
a digital
yeah.
authentication tech company that I'm launching that we're just getting off the ground and we're really pushing, which I saw you do some stuff in that space. So it's called DanCan. It's Digital Authentication Network Certified Non-Negotiable. So we authenticate content.
Interesting.
Yeah, that'll be a big, huge push for me quarter 1.
Okay,
We're
so
just
let's
gonna,
start unpacking something. There's just so much amazing things here that I want
yeah.
to. All
Yeah,
right.
that's why I'm like, I don't know what you want to talk about. I
No,
don't know
this is
where you want to
perfect. Now
start,
we
but
get
I've
to
got
jump
like 12
into,
lanes we can.
yeah, yeah. And so now we get to jump into some of that. So um so the authenticating digital content. Is that, I heard that right?
It's authenticating any content,
Any content. So like what do you
anything.
mean when you say that?
I mean, with AI and deep fake and the way technology is progressing, it's hard to tell what's real or fake anymore. So we're making it very easy to know what is real and to know what is truth before it's been altered. So we've created a system and a platform where people can go on and authenticate their content, their podcasts, their photos, their videos, documents, anything that they want to authenticate. They put it on there, and then people will know if it's released from them. They have a drag and drop to say, is it real? Is it fake? Has it been altered in any way? Then they'll know.
So
And that's going to
is
be, I
this
think,
more
what
of
the
an
future.
archive or a ledger kind of thing where it's like so if I'm doing this podcast with you, right?
Yeah.
How would I utilize this to benefit the podcast in this digital age that we're in?
So as soon as you get it done and before you release it, you would authenticate it on our platform, and then you would share it. And then you might have a tool on your website or, wherever people go that says authentication, or is this real? Is it fake, sort of thing. And that
Mm,
way, if anybody takes your podcast and your image or any of the content you've released and they edit a pixel or a frame or change up anything, it's going to come back and say altered. And you say, the only way you can believe anything from me and know it's 100% from me is because it'll show up authentic, unaltered, the original file, the original form.
so kind of if and again, correct me if I'm wrong, this is awesome, but it's kind of like copywriting your digital content,
Yeah.
right? So like,
Yep. With the trail, so that and you can see, and it will hopefully, again, there's just so many uses, but yeah, it's essentially like copywriting your stuff in real time so that if anybody tries to scam or duplicate or do anything with it, it's going to show that they did.
so do you think what I guess in essence what good do you think that will do as time progresses? Like obviously you have a purpose for this. You're like, man, so where do you see the success of this platform going and how it helps change things for good?
Well, as much as I love technology and media and all the stuff, AI, I think it's fantastic and there's purposes for it. I also think that anything can be used as an evil tool, right? Like
Yeah,
it can
absolutely.
destroy people. And we've seen that with sextortion. We've seen that with people taking images. The Pope right now, he's pretty ticked off about AI because of that. And he wants to have rules and legislation. And it's kind of like the hot topic. Where we see this is when you get online and you can't tell anymore because people can steal it all, your voice, your face, any of
Yeah.
it. They can turn you into anything, put you in any situation. They can put you into porn or child porn or steal from your company. There's just so many things. So our point in doing this is saying it's kind of like an insurance and a protection to say the only thing you can trust now based off technology is my own content that's been authenticated. Otherwise, you might see something and you can dispute it, but how do you prove it? It's
Yeah.
always going to be your word against their word unless we have a digital authentication that's certified and non-negotiable.
So is your authentication process transparent? So for instance, like YouTube's is not. You don't
Mhm.
know how they say, well, we just search databases. But I mean, I've had my own original material that didn't even go through a publisher be flagged, and the reporting process is tedious. You have no idea if someone even
Oh,
reads your report. I mean, you just don't know anything. And I'm like, how did you even come to this conclusion to begin with? Right?
right.
Like,
No,
how did you get to this point?
we have ran into a lot of those issues. I'm like, we have permission. It's our own content. How are you doing this? Yeah, no, there's a chain to show who authenticated the content. And this is also why we love technology that's more like Web3, Web4
I was
stuff
just going
there.
to ask about blockchain, if because blockchain creates the trail, the digital trail,
Exactly. Yep.
which, all the bad hype around NFTs and cryptos really undermines just how valuable the utility of that exists in Web3 and beyond.
Yeah.
Because that's what I came in first to crypto and stuff, and I was like, yeah, let's go make some money because that's what someone else did. And then um, once you get past that quick hype, I started researching more because I had people who were invested for a long time, right? Not people there to just make a few dollars, but people were like, no,
Mhm.
no, no, listen, there's a bigger thing going on. And I was looking at it and I was like, oh, this is like a revolution
Yeah.
because it's giving you and I and everyone else access to take more control of our presence online.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And a decentralized database that allows you to get things pushed through. And I mean, there's so much, it's been around forever. It's all in how you utilize a tool.
Yeah,
So
obviously,
yeah,
right? I
that's
mean,
kind of,
chips, and motherboards and stuff have been around a long time, and yet you have hundreds of thousands of companies who use them in different ways to make different products and different tools. So
and
I
AI
agree.
and blockchain, same. AI
Yeah.
has been around a long time. It's just a buzzword. Blockchain's been around a really long time. It's just goes by different terms. So
I had no idea about a lot of that stuff, how long they had been around. I just had no idea. I mean, it was pretty crazy to see, like, again, the diehards who have been in it for a long time who were just showing
yeah,
me like, oh no, that's 30 years old or older. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like,
I've been learning a
crazy.
ton. Yeah, right. Because you don't know. It's like, oh, all of a sudden, what is this buzzword? What is all this? And
Yeah.
then you dive in, you're like, wait, okay. But we're super excited to really, especially with the elections coming up next year, we really want to push this
Oh
out.
yeah. I
And
mean, even in the
candidates
US,
release,
there's been
yeah,
problems with people getting busted for was it DeSantis or something that had um that the governor DeSantis had some sort of problem where published deep fake
yeah.
was done.
I mean, there
Um
was deep fakes with Zelensky, and some are not malicious and others are. Some are fun.
and at
Tom
the end of the
Cruise.
day, it almost doesn't matter because if we don't know the truth, I think it's all harmful.
And if
If
we, you and me at our age, imagine some of the older generation where you used to just say, oh, you got to see it to believe it. That's not true
Right,
anymore.
even more susceptible. They're an even more susceptible audience because they might not even, I mean, there's people out there who are older than you and I that don't even know what deepfake is.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they would
And
never
that's
even
part of it.
believe it. They don't even know that there's movies out there with Bruce Willis's face, but Bruce Willis was never there. They don't know
Yep.
that.
Or the
And
phone calls they get saying,
the phone
hey,
calls.
your grandson needs money. Help. I'm in you know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
just so many things. And even I got one from a friend on social media. I got a message, hey Brandy, I'm doing this. It was actually a Bitcoin and all this different stuff. And I was like, well, that sounds interesting. I've known you for like 10 years and you're reaching out. And I was like, how do I know that this is you? And they actually sent a video of who I thought was my friend, but I'm a little bit more savvy. I could see just a few little breakups in the video,
Yeah.
but somebody had infiltrated their account, their social media account, and was using it to scam people out of lots of money because they would be like, oh yeah, that's Robert. I've known Robert forever. I trust him. And then on social, you send me the video.
So let's use that instance. So let's say it's me that was being impersonated, that I'm your friend that was being impersonated in this instance. Where
Mhm.
would your authenticator come in? How would it help resolve that situation?
Yeah, we're not at a point yet where you can do things like that in real time. I mean, essentially, it's just going to be for the content that you're releasing and putting out.
So it
So,
would be a proactive kind of before you publish, but
yeah,
eventually the goal would be that, like, would it now, again, I'm just speaking out loud because I think this is a very important thing and I'm really glad
yeah.
you're working on it. Would you eventually get to a place to where you would, let's say, be able to pull a YouTube link and put it into something and say, is this verified?
Oh, yeah. No,
Just like you
we're
can do with
there.
website links, you know how you can
You
go and say, is this flagged for spam? Is this flagged for malicious intent? Would this be, is this an authentic thing? And then it
Yes.
comes back and it kind of gives you like a report.
Yeah.
Yes, this has been authenticated on the 12th of 18th at 1:13 p.m.
Yes.
Okay,
So
so that's really
it
cool.
will be able to do that. It's just, anytime you're starting something new, it's like, okay, well,
You
where's
can't do it
the
all.
user
There's
buy-in?
no
Yeah, none
way.
of these videos have been authenticated yet. So everything you're going to drag in right now is going to show not authentic because it hasn't been authenticated before being released. People can go back through though, and they can authenticate their content now. And
Right.
then we can OEM so that they can put it on their own site to verify, is this my original content? Is this my authentic?
What's OEM?
It means their own original project, basically, or
Okay.
product.
Okay,
So
just wanted to make
they,
sure.
they can take like a widget and put it on their site. So this can be on any company, any site, or we also have one where people can drag and drop. But until you get large scale users, and adaption, it's going to be hard to
Of
track it
course.
for
Of course.
multiple platforms. But there's a lot of companies out there now, like the media. Let's say we get, CNN or BBC or Fox. They start authenticating all their content, and then you see a
Well, there
story
might
that
be even
says,
regulations that come in because, I'm definitely more on the conspiracy theorist side of
yeah.
things. I never was until I realized how much of it was true, and then that's when I became more like that person. Before I used to kind of be like, "Calm down, you're crazy," and then I
Yeah.
started to get to people who are like, "No, I was there." Or I was the person who designed that, or I programmed that. I met someone who worked with Snowden, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah, that's
this
why I
was
got out of the
true,
news.
or it was even worse than what was being said. So what I
Yeah,
think might be interesting to see, and where we might see some mass adoption, is when a politician is in the US particularly is
right.
very much um, abused with these types of lack of authentication. And then we're going to start to see regulation, where then
Yes.
they're going to go to Facebook and say, you have to do this X, Y, and Z. You have to have some sort of, because
Yeah.
again, there's no transparency. How do they authenticate anybody?
And they can't. And so, but we have a solution for this on a mass scale in multiple venues, from wire transfers and degrees and diplomas to photos, video, audio. So just watch out, world. That's what we're working on, because as
I'm
it
really excited for
progresses,
that.
it can be really scary. I mean, I've been the victim of people trying to, blackmail or use your photo or use your video for malicious purposes. And I got out of news also for that reason, because of, there is sensationalism and there are things happening. And so you just got to be really aware. And part of what I love doing is educating people about, hey, we had somebody say, oh my gosh, AI is so amazing. Look, we took this video of a leader in your company, and within 5-10 minutes we had it in multiple languages, and the leadership said, wow, that's incredible, I can't believe AI can do it. And they said, yeah, it is incredible. The only problem is that wasn't your speaker's real video. That was a deep fake, and we've already got it like released and out in mass form in no time, representing your company saying things that you would not want them to say.
That's so, I mean, like, I really am with you. I'm so happy that you're working on this because it's a huge problem. And I think there might be some harmony for us to discuss at another time. But
Yeah.
I was reading from Digital Trends. They said that 73% of traffic between January and September of this year was believed to be bots engaging in malicious activity.
Wow.
73%.
That blows your mind, huh?
Like you sit back and you go, oh my gosh, the odds are not in our favor at all of
No.
seeing who is who. And we have to have
Yeah.
these innovations that you're talking about. There has to be a shift, right? I mean, because um, Facebook is a contributor to the problem. And
Oh yeah.
and I won't turn around and say intentionally and unintentionally. There are certain things they're absolutely intentionally doing because they've been proven and it's been leaked and it's been shown.
Mhm.
Other parts, I'm going to give them some grace because they're a massive company with a lot of employees and things are bound to happen. But at some point, I think there has to be this shift in transparency across the board. If you are a company who has a digital presence, you have to have a level of authentication and transparency in what's
Yeah.
going on,
It's your
because it's the only
insurance.
way. Yeah, exactly. Now it's no longer just a service to your clients, it's a protection to your
Yeah.
own brand and your own image.
Yep. And so starting, like, I mean, immediately, but next year for sure, it's like anything that President Biden does, anything that our government does, they should be authenticating it before it goes out. As soon as it's released, if anybody has a question, they go to official White House or official government, drag and drop, is this authentic or not?
Yeah.
And they're going to know with a certainty if it is true or not true. And then
Yeah.
that's going to help us get rid of fake news and all the issues that we have with people taking and editing the truth. It's an insurance and
Yeah,
security.
it was crazy. So the beginning of COVID, we saw the power of out of context editing.
Mm-hmm.
We saw so many things coming up online because you had so many people on both sides protesting one another.
Uh-huh.
Stay inside, no, go outside, vaccine, no vaccine, and blah, blah, blah. And you had
Oh
so
yeah.
many people. And the lack of context editing showed us just how bad it can get with actual real footage, just
Mm-hmm.
just leaving out the context,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Now we see, great. Now let's leave out the context and add the fact that we're getting to a point to where it's almost indistinguishable what is real and what's not visually on live footage, on real raw footage. How on earth is
Yeah.
the average person supposed to ever, I mean, not even the average person. We see that the ransomware attacks and malicious attacks that happen, the vast majority of them are people who are just tricked into revealing sensitive information. It's not a hacker sitting on the other side of the computer breaking through all
Mm-hmm.
the firewalls and stuff. It's someone who is, I forget what they call it. It's like it's social engineering. It's where
Mm-hmm.
they use social things. They imitate your voice perfectly.
Yeah.
I saw one where it was literally a CEO of a pretty big company had posted a picture of him and his team sitting around a whiteboard working on something, right? Just working on something together. And a malicious actor saw this and took items from the whiteboard that they saw in that picture
Oh wow.
to use as familiar things. Hey, Brandy, by the way, I saw on this very specific thing on the whiteboard. And then they're like, oh, yeah, there was only 10 of us in the room. This person has to be that person.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you think about it, if someone called me, right, and I had one of my books on the shelves that you could see in frame, and you were like, or your pictures in the background and things like that, and they're calling you and saying, hey, they know everything about you because they found it on the internet, and then now
Right.
they know this really personal stuff that you're like, well, only someone personal in my life would know that. I could see people falling for that.
Oh
It's not the
yeah.
same as the Best Buy emails where the email is 100 characters long and you're like, you're like, oh, okay, something's off here. I mean, this is incredibly high level
And
engineering.
it's just going to get worse. And it's just
Hmm.
going to get worse. So it's like, okay, we're doing something to combat that. And
I'm really
what's
excited for
really
that.
cool is it's not just for the digital authentication for online content. I mean, this is stuff that we could use to help with pirated music,
And
pirated
that makes sense.
videos, to use with transactions and wire fraud. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we're working on that is getting infiltrated every day through media and technology and just all the things that are happening. So we're pretty
That's
excited
really
about it.
exciting. Honestly, that is
Yeah.
that is so exciting. Okay, so let's talk a little more about social media.
Okay.
And I think this authentication may come up several times more because I think that's a part that has to be a part of social media going forward. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so couple questions for you. What's one thing right now that you detest about social media?
Oh gosh. Um,
You think of it and it's like this one thing has always been my hate it with a passion problem with social media.
well, I think a lot of people, me, I guess, we struggle with the perfectionism. I'm always like, well, I should be posting this, and instead of enjoying my moment. And
Oh,
also, it's
yeah.
like there'll be people there related to me or friends that I know closely, and I just see all the lies, like the BS. It's almost like this make believe. It's like we're all kids playing make believe, kind of, right?
I mean, in many
It's
ways,
like,
it,
oh
it
my
is.
gosh, married to my best friend. I was like, the same one you were telling me you were going to divorce last week. That's horrible, that you hate, you can't stand to be with. That
Yeah.
person is the amazing one you're sharing on social media.
It's like
Oh
our
my gosh, the
imaginations
best.
when we're
Mhm.
playing as kids and we're playing and we establish invisible rules. I'm a soldier and I can fire a gun, and you're a soldier and you can fire a gun. And then out of nowhere we go, oh, and I have laser vision.
Yeah.
And then the other person goes, you can't do that because I'm invulnerable. And then we just keep like making up these things to convince people that we're good, we're
Yeah.
okay. That, and even though most of us are facing some serious problems mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever. And then what the problem with that is that how are we ever supposed to actually connect? If you
Yeah.
just lie to me the whole time, what's the basis of our relationship?
Well, I did a Silicon Slopes event a little bit a few weeks ago, and I had the CEO of Gab Wireless come on board, and they're all about safe tech.
Mhm.
And I switched to them when we had problems with, phones and social media with my kids. And he said on there, we're more connected than we've ever been in the history of life, but we've never been so disconnected. There's an epidemic of loneliness that's
Mm.
been put into place by it's a Surgeon General's warning. So, I think that that's part of one of
It's
them.
like we walk into a store and there's just mannequins there, and we're like, yeah, this feels like real people that are there for me. And you're like, I know this is fake,
Yeah,
but it's all we get.
there was a girl, a teenager, I think she was 16 overseas, and she posted on her social media, I'm feeling kind of down today. Should I kill myself? Vote yes or no. And like 69% of her friends said, yes, you should. And she did. She took her own life because of her friends on social media, 69% of them. So, for me, it's like, one, they're not, you might have a friend or two, but real people in real life have a handful of friends. And so it gives you this fake sense of grandiose and community that's really non-existent. It's make believe. And so when you sit there, it's like, I really have no connection. Nobody cares. They don't really care. They might pretend they care if you can help them with something. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, you're amazing. Oh, you're beautiful. Okay. What do you want from me? What are you trying to get? Or, are you, it just feels so fake. I guess that's it. It's
So
fake.
it's so not to overuse the word today, but authentic. Uh,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel authentic. So what who do you think is hurting social media right now? So we talked about we have basically this big lie that's being sold, which by the way, I think so far 100% of the guests on the show have all said the exact same thing as their number one thing they hate most about social media, which is essentially that we were all just selling a big lie.
Yeah.
That we're being sold a big lie. So that's funny. So someone who's hurting social media, I call this kind of accountability. Let's say someone that in your world, it could be someone at a small level, or it could be Mark Zuckerberg himself. Who do you think is hurting social media? Who's essentially trying to make it worse
Well, I
or
think
encouraging it?
Yeah, I think the people who know the harm it does behind the tech and they're still pushing it because it equals money, that's probably where I feel like the greatest responsibility goes. Because the hard thing is this, social media can also be such an amazing tool. I
Yeah.
shared an experience, a really amazing spiritual experience where I was able to help a family. And I shared it on social. That video got 12,000 views in a week.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's 12,000 people that would have never heard this story and been inspired. It was shared hundreds of times, had hundreds of comments. So I think that's where it can be a vehicle of good. And this is kind of actually what we've been doing with my nonprofit, with Good Deed Revolution and our Promise to Live campaign. We're trying to get people to share messages of hope, help, healing, and resources on social media because if we want to actually reach people, we have to take it to them on the devices and platforms they use through the people that they know, follow, and trust
That's
already. Who are
right.
they listening to that's an influencer, a podcaster, celebrity? So, yes, there's good. Thinking that we're going to get rid of social media is never going to happen. But I'm on a mission starting also this year to really start to disconnect to reconnect. That's kind of my thing, disconnect to
Mm.
reconnect. So when I get home, I'm putting the phone away. I'm off social media. I was sitting there with my 6-year-old watching a movie and doing some work on my phone and probably going through social media because I've had a lot of content on there that I'm having to, oh, thanks for following. Oh, thanks for watching. Because if I don't engage them, then my, important content is not going to get ranked. So it's like this
Oh
constant
man, the
stupid thing.
algorithms are so infuriating
Oh,
because
yeah.
one, they're all based off really idiotic things. If we
Mm,
actually are transparent about it, it would not
Yeah.
make sense to use these algorithms in life anywhere else at any point. Like, it just wouldn't make sense. It's literally like, okay, um, we turn around, we have these gray, murky algorithms that nobody knows how they work. Nobody absolutely knows. And
Engage in the first 24 hours.
right. And but don't engage too much or we're going to ban you because you must be a spam account. And then they have unclear community guidelines, intentionally, of course, to allow the liberty to ban and censor for any reasons that they deem worthy. But they purposely make it, someone, I think it was on one of Joe Rogan's podcasts, where they were talking about TikTok and how the algorithm was so good at
Mhm.
first, and it's getting worse and worse by day. And then whoever was on that show with him, they were saying, well, here's the thing, right? If they give you organic content, nobody paid to see that, to make you see that. So
Mhm.
every time that they let you and I are friends, and Brandy, you post it, and you're not spending money to put it in front of me, we're just having a relationship, and I say, I want to see your content, TikTok has to decide for themselves. Well, listen, if we show Brandy's free content to Robert, we lose money because his eyeballs. If he's looking
Yeah.
at Brandy's free content, we won't make money. So instead, we're going to show someone that's kind of like Brandy, not Brandy, but kind of like Brandy, who paid to be in front of Robert. So then Robert kind of feels like, oh yeah, TikTok gets me. I'm getting what I want. But the reality is, I wanted to connect with you, Brandy, not
Mhm.
your look-alike, not
Yeah.
someone similar to you. I build a relationship with you. I didn't invite Brandy 2.0 on the show, right? Or anything like that. I invited you because I wanted to
Yeah.
talk to you. And
Yeah.
so it's it's just pretty crazy that these and our whole one of my favorite people is Mr. Beast as far as influencers because he's really transparent about the good, the bad, the ugly. He doesn't sell his life as more than it is. He talks about the shortcomings, but even he has talked about how ridiculously stupid YouTube can be.
Yeah.
Even Mr. Beast is like, listen, I know how to replicate the success of YouTube, but I also know that I can't ever trust YouTube to keep doing that. And they'll never tell
Yeah.
me why. And he's like, and I'm the biggest person in the world as far as YouTube goes, and I
Yeah.
still have no voice, and I still don't fully comprehend how they do what they do and why they do it. They could
Yeah.
still take everything away from them in a heartbeat.
They could delete your account in no time. Yeah. I mean, I've seen that happen with influencers and just different things. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It really is. But what's interesting? So when I was on the couch with my 6-year-old, he's like, Mom, even though I was doing that, he's like, can you put your phone down and just watch the movie with me? And I felt so bad because we think sometimes I'm giving him time, but you're not really. It's like you're
Yeah.
you're still distracted. So you gotta connect there. But my daughter, she was we weren't monitoring her social. She's 12 years old. She's on TikTok and Instagram and all whatever, Snapchat, and she's going through, and she was a different person. I mean, and politics were getting in her way, and um
At such a
government
young
and
age,
all
too.
these things that were just influencing these kids, and it was so hard for her. She finally goes, I had no idea how manipulated I was being, almost brainwashed, because again, they feed you like everything to control you. They're going to tell you all the anti this and the pro that so that
And
you
see,
believe this.
you bring up a great point with your daughter because some of the defenses that have come to the big social media companies is, well, we're showing people what they want. I guarantee you, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, but I guarantee you that the politics that your daughter received on TikTok were it's not something she was looking for.
No, I don't think so. And
What
again,
12-year-old
those,
even knows how to go look for those things? They have to be fed them.
and why would they care? It might have been like she
Of
looked at
course. Yeah,
something
that's
for a
right. Why
minute. It
would
was
they
like,
care?
why did this person, why did the police department do this? Or why did the president do that? Or why, you know what I mean? Like all these controversial things. And then they get these kids spun one way and then they're just feeding it. And you know better than anyone. I mean, once they know, they can beat it into you. And I always tell anybody, whatever answer you're looking for, you can find it. I mean, is the sky blue? Is the sky not blue? You'll find an answer and a resource for any question you have that goes along your narrative.
Yeah,
Is the earth
absolutely.
flat? Is it round? Well, you'll find answers saying yes to both. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like,
it
it's just
depends
ridiculous.
which chamber you're in.
Yeah.
You know, which chamber you're in. One group will turn
Right.
around and absolutely say it, and then we have this idea of a subjective truth,
Yeah.
right? Oh, it depends on your perspective. There is a lot of truths out there that do not depend on perspective. There
Yeah.
are absolute facts that we have to adapt to and identify with, because if we don't, there's no basis for any sort of intelligent conversation.
But that's the danger of social media. And it's interesting because when I worked in television, when I first started in TV in 1995, that tells you how old I am. It was like, okay, you have to be neutral. Like you don't pick a side. You just report very neutral and you have to cover both sides.
Hmm.
Okay, you try, but you still go with your bias.
Of
It's
course,
just the way it is. So when I
of
was in there,
course.
I was like, wait a minute, you guys are biased way over here. I'm going to bias maybe a little bit further so that we can kind of balance. That was on TV and radio. That was back in the day when that's all we had. Now we have social media and we think we're getting unbiased, but it's so biased because it's put out by algorithms and AI, and it's just like brainwashing us
Yeah.
whichever way. And so it's horrible. It's like, to be a free thinker, you almost really have to disconnect.
Yeah, because those echo chambers, what's funny is that people, again, protectors of social media go, well, um, we need to diversity. And I go, well, listen, here's the problem though. Okay. You have no factual data to prove that the way social media isn't causing more harm than good. I don't know anybody on social media who has their mind changed. And in
Yeah.
fact, I'd argue that this claim of, oh, echo chambers, man, we all create echo chambers in our life, whether we like it or not. We absolutely do. You go to a church that you resonate with the message of that church. You go to a school and you'll move schools. You'll change classes. You'll change jobs. You'll change friends. You will gravitate where you want to gravitate, right? That's just the truth.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you turn around and go, oh, I got 5,000 friends and, oh, some of them are left and some of them are right. And I'm like, the end of the day, you're still going to interact with the people that you agree with,
Hmm.
and the people you disagree with. If someone comes on and disagrees with me, they're not changing my mind. They're ingraining me deeper into the thing I already believe, because I believe I'm right. And you don't change the mind of someone who believes that they're right. You
It was
don't.
so, I actually thought about that when I was driving yesterday. And the words that literally came out of my mouth was, learn how to drive. That guy needs to learn how to drive, and I just laughed because I thought, I need dad like me because he does know how to drive. He's obviously got a driver's license, but we sit around and we say these things. It's like, learn how to drive like
Yeah.
me, because I'm better than you and I know what I'm
I
doing and
and
you
and
don't know what
that's the
you're doing.
point, right? Is that
Yeah.
social media didn't make you do that. Social media
No.
will bring that out in you,
Yeah.
absolutely, because then you'll get 100 people who don't even know the context. You could just go online and be like, yeah, this idiot on the highway learned how to drive, and 100 people would immediately be like, yeah, I totally. They have no idea. You might be the craziest, most unsafe driver in existence, and
Oh
they will
yeah.
take your side because they want to resonate with your message, because they
Yeah.
think they're also the best driver ever.
Well, everyone does. And so that's what I just thought about it for a minute. I thought, man, I'm sappy. I'm getting old or something because I just laughed at myself. It was like, yeah, he knows how to drive. I just want him to drive like me. And that's
Yeah.
what we want at the end of the day. We want people to think like us. We want them to be like us because we think we're right. No matter what we're doing, we think we're right.
Yeah,
So,
and I think social media, I think this is where I think context, it's very difficult, right? So I'm not a protector in any way of the big social media companies. I think there is enough information that anybody who wants to go dig it up, because I wouldn't call myself a journalist, so I'm not going to bring a bunch of stuff here. But if anybody spends a little bit of time just kind of reading into it, it's pretty obvious that the social media companies know exactly what they're doing and how they exploit human behavior.
mhm.
I think that's in human psyche and all of that. I think it's pretty obvious. I think that there's so much evidence there that anybody who believes otherwise, they just want to believe otherwise. Fine, that's your own opinion. But I think there has to be some point to where we go, okay, can we change anything though? Do we
Yeah.
have to accept social media as is? Because people go, well, TikTok came out with a better algorithm. And I said, Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat and every last one of them, they're exactly the same. You
Hmm.
just think they're different because they're putting a little bit of makeup on the left side of their face. but
And
they're hiding their right side.
yeah,
And so you go, oh no. That TikTok is so much better than what they do at Facebook because you see the left side of their face and not the right. And you
yeah,
just happen to like the left side better. Okay. And I'm like, but that's not how it works. If you look at the core of all of their businesses, they run exactly the same, which is we need people to stay on and consume as much content as much
waste time,
paid
disconnect from your
content.
family and your friends and your job, and live in this alternate reality.
Exactly. It's anti their incentive to get you out there and live a fulfilling life.
Yeah,
That would literally be like someone saying, hey, I run a suicide booth, paid suicide booth, of course, but my goal in life is to help people go live to their fullest and happiest lives.
yeah,
No, that's anti their business model. This is their whole business model is based on you consuming paid content.
right.
So
Yeah,
of course, and we believe otherwise. We believe them when they go, "Oh no, Facebook just wants us to connect with their friends." Not unless your friends are paying them. They don't want you and I to connect organically. Absolutely not. They want you to go start a company, pay a lot of money in advertising to maybe reach me.
yeah,
Maybe. They don't want us. And that's where, we the whole inspiration behind the platform that we're building and we have underway is changing actually the way that data works online
hmm,
even. And
yeah,
authentication is something that is such an imperative hand in, I think, the kind of taking control of our social
yeah.
footprint and presence. So let me ask you this. Do you think there's anyone out there making social media better? Whether that's someone you know personally, or do you think there's someone at a high level?
I mean, you mentioned Mr. Beast. Obviously, he's got a lot of followers. Why? I'm a humanitarian at heart. I love helping people. And so I think some of it again is like it's for ratings or it's for this or it's for that. But I do see the good in spreading, I'm a part of the Absolute Motivation team on YouTube with James Dixon, and we're putting out motivating videos all the time and content that people can share. So I like that when it's done right and in moderation and it's good for
Yeah.
you. So I do think that there are some groups like that that are doing good things, putting out good content. But honestly, if I wasn't running a business, if I wasn't trying to make money through social media, through my companies and spread information quickly, I wouldn't be on there because it's not about connecting with people you actually love. It might be me connecting with businesses to get money. Why do I want to
Hmm.
connect with them? I want to do business. Businesses give money. I
Hmm.
want to get funding for my nonprofit. I'm connecting with you because of not because it's like,
There's a
hey,
purpose.
let's learn about, let's be friends in real life and have barbecues together and be there for each other's, kids' graduations.
So
That
there's a
part is
purpose.
just
There's a
so lacking.
purpose for you getting on social media.
Hmm.
And I firmly believe that social media can have a positive place in our lives, but I think that it's where you turn around and you log in and you have purpose for being there.
Yeah.
Because all the other platforms say, good luck finding your purpose. We're going to give you a bunch of stuff that feels somewhat momentarily gratifying, but absolutely does nothing to actually make you feel accomplished in life. And I can't think of a time where I've ever met anybody just as a user or a business profile that ever was like, I'm so glad I'm on social media. It's
Right.
always a necessary evil.
Yeah. I mean, I love it when I'm able to share messages of hope and give resources and things like that. Then I'm thankful for it. I mean, overall, I'm thankful for it. It's like the internet. I remember when it first came when it first came out. Went
The
back in the day.
dial-up
I was
days.
just young. Yeah. And I was showing my mom. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Look, you can look up anything." I said, "What do you want me to find, Mom?" She's like, "Well, look up recipes." And I typed up recipes and it brought up a triple X rated site. And I was just like, freaking out. I'm showing my mom how great it is. I think that's again where we are with social media and with everything. It's like it can be so amazing. AI, social media, our smartphones, our smart TVs, all of this stuff is mind blowing.
Yeah.
Incredible to be able to find data and information at your fingertips, but it can also be used to blow your mind in the wrong way
Yeah.
and waste your time here on this earth to accomplish really important things.
Yeah. I agree. So let me ask you a fun question. I always like asking this question. If you had all the money and all the power, and were the CEO of the biggest social media company in the world, what would you do today to make social media better?
Oh, oh, that's a good one.
I think it's
That's
always fun to really think about it. Man, if I was arguably, so most people don't know, Mark Zuckerberg blows every other social media platform combined out of the water. Facebook does. Their
mhm.
revenue, their user count. So basically, I'm saying if you're Mark Zuckerberg, but you have
Yeah.
no opposition, right? There is no Congress, there is no, you could just make the changes through the platform and they would go through. No board of directors, none of that garbage that gets in the way. What would you do to make social media better?
Wow. I guess I've never totally thought about that because, I try to keep my head here in the real everyday stuff. But I mean, initially my first thought is I would shut off all the bad, right? I would
Mhm.
love to get rid of all the paid stuff and just make it like your friends are your friends. You see their content. I'd
Mhm.
love to be able to spread more hope, like our Promise to Live campaign, the promise number 2 live.org campaign we're doing. I would love an opportunity to just let everybody there just send them all like a message letting them know that they matter, that the world's better
Mm.
because they're here, that they can get through any hard times. Like I for me, it would be a vehicle of hope.
I love that. So what I heard was two parts. I heard one, the most hyper relevant content to the individual, not the most paid content, not the most popular
Right.
content, relevant based on
Yes.
them, their tastes, their unique aspects. And
Yeah,
then the
because I
second,
do love to get business information. So I like that stuff. If it sends me,
yeah, I
business.
mean, there's just like you said, social media can be an amazing place of discovery and learning and
Yeah.
knowledge. Okay, so then the second part that I heard was a kind of a vehicle for consistent positive messages to people. In other
Yeah.
words, inspiring, hopeful, purposeful, basically just getting them to feel that they're more than just consumers.
Yeah, a global community of friends and hope and resources and tools that can actually help in a way that changes lives for the better. That that would be amazing,
I
right?
love it.
But
I
I'm a
like that a
dreamer
lot.
like that. But you know what? It's the whole even if it's a starfish thing, like each of us doing one thing for one person, that's awesome. But if you could do so much for everyone on a broad scale like that, how cool would that be?
It reminds me, it's part of the reason why I like Mr. Beast so much is that he does all the things that we look at many, many very rich people and go, why don't you do that?
Mhm.
I don't care whether his intent is to get views or not. I honestly don't. I
Yeah.
hope that his heart is pure, but at the end of the day, I'm just happy that he's using his fame and his wealth to go to everyday people. I love the fact that you might see Mr. Beast on a college campus and say, what's your student loan debt? Okay, here you go. Here's a briefcase full of money that is going to cover that. I love that he'll
Yeah.
go give people bonuses and cars and it's drops in the bucket, just pennies for him. And I just go like, why isn't every billionaire even out there, why isn't that there every single day? Why does it have to be that their donations have a political movement behind it? That they're donating to a particular party so that their charity isn't charity at all. It's 100% self-serving and it pushes an agenda that benefits them. There's no charity in that.
I was having this conversation with my husband just last night. And it was like, Victor Hugo, the guy who wrote Les Mis, we did a story for the Christmas show, and I worked on this concert the last week. And part of the story is, they noticed these orphaned kids that were sick and starving and struggling. And they said a balanced meal, if they could just have meat once a week, they would do so much better. So he and his wife were like, well, let's feed them. And they started feeding him. And it said the townspeople questioned their motives. Well, those are the people that sit back and aren't doing anything and questioning other people's motives. Whether their motives were pure or not, the kids were getting fed.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at it. Good is good. If somebody's doing a good deed or an act of kindness or a pay it forward, even if it's for the views, is somebody still benefiting and feeling heard
Right.
and
Like we
seen
can
and being
work with
blessed?
that. We
Yeah,
can
that
work with
I deal
someone
with.
through has the desire to make their success based off of good deeds. I'd
Mhm.
much rather work and support someone like that than someone who makes their success off of bad deeds.
Off of torturing people or trafficking or selling
Right.
drugs
Or
or
even just
porn
in a
or
silly way, all the people who built their digital empires, these influencers who built it off of tormenting others.
Yeah.
The awful pranks and sabotaging and uh, the divisiveness, man, I'll take Mr. Beast over them any day because as far as I can tell, he's doing a lot more good in people's lives than he is bad. Does he make
Yeah.
mistakes and does he want to get views? Absolutely, of course, that's
Yeah. We all
fine.
do.
But at the end of the day, I like the idea because here's the truth that most people aren't willing to talk about. Every last one of us are 100% selfish. There is no such thing, in my opinion, as selflessness. And the reason why is because even when I donate to a charity, I do it because I believe it's a good thing for me to do.
And it makes you feel good. It's a helper's high. It's a real
Exactly. So
thing.
I'm
It's
not
a
I'm
good.
not a hero. Oh, I leave a really big tip that makes the waiter's mind just blow and they're like, "Oh
Yeah.
my gosh." At the end of the day, it was funny. My stepdad was visiting yesterday and we were out and getting food and he's like, "Oh, I'll get the bill." And I'm like, "Sure, you can get the bill. I don't care." And I was like,
Thanks.
but I want to leave a particularly sizable tip." And he goes, "Why?" And I said, "Because that's the impression I want to leave." And it's an odd thing to hear when someone goes, "Why?" Because they may be looking for someone to be exceptional, and therefore that's when they get the exceptional treatment in return. In other words, the waiter has to be the most incredible person ever. And I'm like, that's not charity. That's a business transaction.
Yeah.
When I leave a tip, it's whether I want to give someone or not. It's not based off of their worthiness. That's why I'm a weird person. I'm totally against like gift giving because of holidays. I'm so against that because I'm like, my wife does, if I believe that I'm going to give her a gift, she is not more worthy to receive it because it's Christmas or her
Yeah.
birthday. That she's not suddenly more worthy on those days. She's worthy because I said I want to gift her something. And that's the extent that she becomes worthy. She doesn't have to prove it because then it's not a gift, it's a transaction.
You want to know the gift that meant the most to me? A few months ago, I got a card in the mail from a friend who, not a super close friend. She lives far away. And it was this. It's this little thing. It's a pocket
Pocket
hug
hug.
coin. And on the back, it says, "When times are tough and you don't know what to do, here's a hug from me to you." And I've just carried this around in my pocket and I can reach in there and I can feel it. And I actually had a bunch of them done. I printed 1,000 of them
That's
with the
awesome.
promise to live on. And we've already given out over 800 of them just this month to people. But I have a card in my card. Here's something fun. If you want to do a good deed and make people feel seen and heard and valued, I just have random cards and I write a note that, like, hey, the world's better because you're in it. Like, you do matter. No matter what you're going through, you can get through it. And if you're
Yeah.
struggling, there's always somebody there. So I have these cards in my car, and now I have these little pocket hugs in them.
I
And
love that.
sometimes, depending on your financial state, you don't have to do anything in there. But I put in 5, 10, 20, $50, and I'll just look outside myself. And if I feel like somebody might need it at the drive through, at the school, I'll just give them the card. And so, like talking about doing a big tip or whatever it is, it's just letting people know at the end of the day, right, that you value
That's what it
who they
is.
are,
That's right.
that's something special. So
I,
even this
That's
dollar
right.
coin or whatever
Sometimes
it is
I'll even give the
matters.
tip to someone who didn't do a great job because I wasn't basing my tip off of their performance. I really was just trying to give them a gift. Just like I don't stop loving my daughter even when she's a total butthead.
Oh yeah. Well,
She doesn't become less worthy. And I'm not saying anybody needs to base their tips off of that mindset. I'm not saying go do
no.
that. I'm saying that's how I view it. Maybe sometimes I'll give a tip based off of performance, but I try to make sure that I'm separating someone's worthiness from someone's transactional value.
Which can be highly altered depending on their social media use, right? Like, this is something we know too. It's like, oh, I'm working at the restaurant. She's doing this. She's got that. Her boyfriend loves her. He's handsome. They have kids. So it's, again, that false reality. But when we get to reality and it's about relationships and connection that cures contention and leads us so much further, simple little things like a pocket hug or a smile or a hello or you look nice can go really far.
So
How you
what is I'm curious. So we've talked a lot about well, a lot of stuff and it's been
doing?
amazing.
It's random.
So, oh no, I love it. I mean, I just feel like these are the conversations I love to have where we're just talking about things that are important to us, things that we see and observe in our lives. It feels real, it feels authentic. um, so now I kind of have like a more objectionable question, which is what's a tool or feature you feel is missing from social media? In other words, you're on there personally and in business. What's
Mhm.
something that you would love to see social media do to help you do what you want to do on social media? Does that make sense? I struggle phrasing this question to where it makes sense.
Yeah.
But
And
essentially, like, what do you want in a feature on social media? Not the moral side, not the ethics side, but now just in a very practical sense, like what's a feature or something you'd love to see social media have?
I mean, the first thing that pops into my mind would be like easier posting and scheduling with some of the things, just having it be a little bit more user friendly, without having to go to a third party or do something like that. If you could schedule things out, that would be easy right on your dashboard, making it a little more
Mm.
intuitive, I think would be good. Of course, they've done a really good job at that. And also, when you say it, I think back to when I first started marketing on social media in 2010. I was using Facebook and I was crushing it for the business I was working for, and I wasn't doing any paid ads. We had
Remember when
130,000
followers mattered on
followers.
Facebook?
Yeah, we had like 130,000 followers in 2010, which
Which
is
is
really good.
incredible.
And I would put it out there and we would get, 50,000 views and comments. And you know what I mean? Like products
Yes.
would sell. If I posted a promo video on there, they would sell and I didn't have to pay for it. So I just thought like some of that intrinsic value that used to be
Mm.
free would just be nice. You know what I mean? It's like if you spend the time to build it up, not having to do that would be good. And I like how link and probably there are ways to. I don't dive into it anymore because I do more of the big overview. I've got
Yeah,
people
yeah.
in data and analytics, but just some of the dashboard features are really nice. Say right on LinkedIn. When you look, it's like this many people looked at it. They were executives, they were this, they were this. And I can see that just with one click instead of going into my dashboard. So, I like the ease of that. I like the free real marketing. And I think being able to plan things out like on your home dashboard would be awesome.
I am 100% with you on that. I think that's why I always ask, because I'm always curious, like, what is
Yeah.
something that would make someone's life easier from a very practical standpoint?
If I could get on my Facebook page like right now, I have events that I've done all week and I have all these photos and all these things. If I could put in there and say, write this based off these photos, post this one Monday at 3, Tuesday at 4, or whatever the best time is, and just put it in there for the week. So I didn't even have to think about it. I like every comment, comments on every comment to keep me whatever. That would be amazing. And I know you can do it through other platforms and different things or
But I
through
mean, it's
LinkedIn.
there
But if I could
additional
just do it right there with
subscriptions
like,
and integrations, and
yeah.
then it becomes its own job to keep up with the plugins and make them all work together.
And
And
I
it's
think
like,
I'll post this in a week and I never do,
yeah.
or in the day and I never do because I'm just like, I don't want to post.
So if I was to go to your let's see, let's do one of your business profiles. You can pick which one.
Okay.
What's one word you would describe based off the content that you have? You tell me which business and then what word describes it. If I was to go and look at your profile right now, doesn't matter
Yeah.
which profile, doesn't none of that.
Um, oh my gosh.
It's
That's a tough one. Well,
fun,
if you went
right?
to Vega Media Studios, which is my production company, I haven't been posting a whole lot, but when I do, it's like BTS, behind the scenes, my amazing clients, fun shoot. It's like you just always show the fun stuff, not us editing at midnight and screaming.
Yeah,
But
yeah. The true parts of owning a production company.
yeah. So that one is kind of, yeah, it's just gonna say production, production, production.
Production.
Promise, deliver, good deed. You're gonna find right now lots of songs and
Hmm.
resources. I don't know. I feel like I've kind of a little bit checked out on that.
I've seen that more and more, actually. Even though more people are getting on social media at younger ages, what we're seeing, though, is that just because they're on, their involvement is actually going down, though. Their
Mhm.
engagement is going down. So they may consume more content, but the value of their engagement, the depth of their engagement is going down because there's nothing of sustenance there,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and it
It's,
used to be 30-second, then it was like 15, then 7 seconds. Now you have 3 seconds to make an impression, and it's not
yeah,
even worth a like.
yeah.
Eh.
And it's really not, honestly, I feel that way about a lot of content now When before I looked at myself even and said, uh, oh, I do engage less. I
Yeah.
absolutely engage less. I might consume more, but I engage so much less because I don't see any value in.
Because when you're at the buffet and you've got, 2,000 rows of food and table and dessert, you're not going to really appreciate the one piece of cake.
You're already thinking about the next piece you haven't tried yet.
Yeah. So that was my
And so why
experience in
would you
online
commit?
dating, and that's my experience in social media. When
Yeah.
you're just overstimulated, you really just don't appreciate almost anything.
I love that you looped them both in. That was great. All right, Brandy, any final words that you want to share with anybody? It could be a plug, it could be just a message, doesn't matter. This
Well,
is
I would love everyone to go and make the promise to live, because you know what? If nobody's told you lately, you're awesome and the world needs you and we're never better without you. So I would encourage everybody to, one, check on the people they love, have honest conversations about their mental health, ask them if they're actually feeling suicidal. Because unfortunately, a lot of this stuff with layoffs, economy, social media can get us down, finances,
especially holidays.
holidays. I mean, there's lots of beautiful things and terribly hard things. So go to promise the number two live.org. Make the promise to live for me or for Robert or for somebody you love, and then share it on social media to help us start these conversations and stop stigma. It saves lives. So it can be used for good. And that's what I want you to use it for this holiday season. And know that I love you. If we can hate for any reason, I can love you for any reason.
Ooh, that was strong right there. Got to put that on a shirt.
Yeah.
That would be
Right.
awesome. I love it. Thank you, Brandy.